Good morning, family, and welcome to All Rights Reserved. I'm Yolanda Taylor, the community lawyer, and today we are unpacking one of the most powerful gatherings I've attended this year. I am talking about the North Carolina Black Summit. The theme this year was Unleashing Our Power, United in Purpose. And let me tell you something, this was not just another conference. This felt like strategy. This felt like family. This felt like vision. This felt like a cookout where almost everybody was invited because some people were not. But because we were talking about our business, our schools, our housing, our economic future, our political power, our communities, and most importantly, our democracy. And yes, there was some closed door conversation, and that matters because every conversation is not performative. Sometimes Black leaders need to be in rooms where they can speak honestly to their constituents about what we are facing and what we are doing and what we need to do moving forward. This summit brought together legislators, advocates, organizers, educators, community leaders, everyday people who care deeply about the future of North Carolina. And today I am bringing you inside those rooms. One thing I will say that became crystal clear at the NC Black Summit is this: political power does not happen accidentally. It does not. People organize power. People protect power. People strategize power. And while many people are exhausted by politics, the reality is that politics affects every aspect of our lives: public education, affordable housing, healthcare, our voting rights, economic opportunity, criminal justice, environmental justice, and whether or not communities can even survive displacement and gentrification. And while we were gathered talking about unleashing our power, the United States Supreme Court issued a ruling reminding us exactly why these conversations matter. This week, in the case of Louisiana versus Calias, the Supreme Court dramatically weakened Section 2 of the Voter Rights Act. Now, let me explain why this matters. Section 2 allowed communities to challenge vote maps that diluted Black voting strength, even if lawmakers did not openly admit racist intent. Because discrimination evolves, sometimes discrimination is not somebody standing in a doorway saying you cannot vote. Sometimes discrimination is drawing district lines, splitting communities apart, packing Black voters together, or making sure your vote technically counts while politically carrying less power. And what is concerning to me and many other civil rights advocates is that the court increasingly appears to embrace this idea that the Constitution requires color blindness. In other words, that government should not use race at all, even when trying to remedy racial historic discrimination. But here's the problem many people have with that theory. Every race did not experience voter suppression equally in America. I have never seen my white American friends systematically deny the right to vote because they were white. I haven't seen that in history or currently. I have never seen white voting strength diluted intentionally because they were white. But Black Americans absolutely experienced that history, and currently in North Carolina, Black voters have been targeted with what the court has called almost surgical precision. That case was the North Carolina State Conference of the NAACP versus McCrory. The Fourth Circuit Court found that lawmakers here in North Carolina actually study racial voter data. So when people now say, let's just be colorblind, many Black Americans are asking, colorblind after what history? And one of the most frustrating statements most critics have pointed to, and I do too, came from the U.S. Supreme Court's Chief Justice Roberts, who years ago was quoted as saying, the way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discrimination on the basis of race. What? Now, to some people that sounds simple and logical, but to me and others, we say that is an overly simplistic, even asinine understanding of structural discrimination. Because if you declare society colorblind before the effects of discrimination have disappeared, then colorblindness can actually protect inequality instead of dismantling it. And this is why summits like the NC Black Summit matter, because power matters, representation matters, and policy matters. I had an opportunity to speak with House Democratic leader Robert Reeves, who, again, he serves as the House Democratic leader in our North Carolina General Assembly. And what I appreciated the most about my first interview, being with Leader Reeves, is that he understands both policy and people. So let me play this clip so you can hear for yourself.
Hi, my name is Robert Reeves, State Representative for House District 54, which comprises Chatham and Randolph County, also the House Democratic leader for the last 6 years. Glad to be here.
Well, thank you so much for being here. You just participated on an amazing panel. If the voters knew what talent we have right here in North Carolina that's been elected to lead us, I mean, wow, I think we will have more voters. And the panel talked about just how one state leader lost his seat, because of 23 votes. So if you had to express one thing to voters, what would you express to voters about the power that we have and what we need to do to get it done this year?
What I would say is that the short version is, if African Americans in particular, but all groups right now, and unfortunately all groups are being oppressed at this time.
Yes.
If all groups were voting at a 100% clip, you win every election you want to win. If they just voted at the same clip as the folks who seem to not want you to have economic opportunity, you still win. Your numbers are there. What happens is two things are done. One, they spend a ton of money making you believe that your vote doesn't matter. Two, they spend a ton of money making you believe that all folks that are serving in office are the same. And what I'm telling you is that there are some outstanding people, not only in office, but running for office, who just need support. They're just like anybody else. Think of us like a football team. No football team is going to be able to win a game if they don't have any fans in the stand. But if they've got people that are there to support them, when you're on a team, you've got people who block, you've got people who run, you've got people who pass, you've got people who catch, you've got people who tackle. But all of them are important for you to win, and that's what we need right now, is to understand that, as I said on the panel, if you have a philosophy that continues to reduce us and continues to put us in smaller and smaller groups, that is automatically a recipe for disaster. It's got to be about an alliance and aligning with people who have your belief system, who want what you want, and generally it's what we all want, is for everybody to have economic opportunity.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your leadership, and thank you for being here again at the NC Black Summit.
For having me, and thank you for being here.
That conversation reminded me that leadership is not just about speeches. Leadership is about navigating budgets, legislation, power structures, and real consequences for everyday people, because policy becomes personal very quickly. I also had the opportunity to speak with Representative Zach Hawkins. And what I appreciated about Representative Hawkins is that he represents a generation of leadership that understands both policy and community engagement. He spoke with clarity about the importance of remaining politically active, informed, and connected to the people. He discusses the importance of having a fully funded budget and its impact on our public education system.
Yeah, today I'm so excited to be here at the Black Summit, unleashing our power, making sure that we do all that we can to ensure that our communities are performing at the highest levels, and that starts in the classroom. One of the things that we know in the General Assembly that they're trying to do is starve public education. They don't want to pay teachers, they don't want to invest in public pupil spending, because they want to starve us so that they can give more money to private schools. We already know that that does not benefit students that look like us, and we have to fight. We have to show up, and we have to vote.
Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, you got it.
Now, one thing that became clear throughout this summit is that leadership today cannot just be about titles. People want leaders like Reeves and Hawkins who are accessible. People want leaders who are informed. People want leaders who understand the real life impact of legislation on everyday communities. And especially in this political climate, people are looking for courage and consistency. Now, a favorite of mine was that I got an opportunity to also interview young leadership. First up, I had a chance to speak with one of the younger voices at the NC Summit, and in the General Assembly, I spoke with Representative Jordan Lopez, who's out of Mecklenburg County. And I thought it was important to include his voice because the future of political power also depends on the next generation stepping into leadership spaces. So let me play this clip of Representative Jordan Lopez.
Hey everybody, my name is Representative Jordan Lopez. I represent House District 112 in the East Charlotte area down in Mecklenburg County.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much for being here today at the NC Black Summit. We appreciate the remarks you had to make. What are your thoughts that if you had 2 or 3 takeaways that you wanted to voters to actually listen to or reflect upon, what would be those 2 or 3 takeaways?
I think 2 or 3 takeaways. The first would be just take inventory of where we are right now. Look at the environment that we are currently in our state. We are the only state in the nation that does not have a budget. On our panel, we talked about some of the precipitory effects of not having the budget in place, mainly around keeping state employees. Something I wanted to lift up, but just did not think about at the moment to add. Confidence in voters and in its state's government ability to actually just do their job. Confidence in businesses. We have several departments that are essentially giving their contractors IOUs because they don't have the money to pay them. How likely are those businesses to continue to want to do business with the state because they have people they need to pay too? So, I mean, there are a lot of effects that we have to consider with not having a budget. But then also when we get that budget, what does it invest in? Does it invest in our public schools? Does it make sure that our kids across our state have access to a high quality education? That's an area we've been failing in for well over a decade now. Does it invest in infrastructure projects to make sure that you can get to and from work, to make sure that your community has water infrastructure that can withstand some of these once in a lifetime storms that seem to happen every single year now. Another takeaway is how important it is to get off the sidelines and to get engaged. The last question that we got a lot of calls to action, particularly from Leader Batch and from Representative Hawkins around the importance of engaging with our neighbors, the importance of engaging and educating our constituents, our colleagues, our friends, the people we work with, building alliances across more than just people who look like us. People who don't look like us too, people who maybe haven't always thought the same way that we did, people who don't pray the same way that we do, but building relationships regardless, because a rising tide lifts all boats and we're all in this same ocean together, and it's time for us to start working together to get there too. So it was a great conversation rooted in I think a love for our state, a love for using policy to drive our communities forward, and I look forward to hearing more about the way the rest of the conference goes.
Thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate to hear your experience, and we appreciate the great work you're doing for our state.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Now, what encouraged me most about speaking with younger leaders at the summit is seeing a generation that understands the importance of policy, organizing, and representation, and who cares about issues, kitchen table issues that we face. Because political power is not just about preserving the past, it is really about preparing the future. And this summit reminded me that leadership exists all across North Carolina, rural communities, urban communities, school boards, city councils, advocacy organizations, nonprofits, churches, sororities, fraternities, and neighborhood groups, right? And at HBCUs. And we need to tap into the PWIs too. But younger leadership is inherent in the consequences of the decisions being made right now. That's something for us to remember. And another favorite of mine is one thing I loved about the summit is that it wasn't just elected officials speaking. The voices in the room matter too. A lot of people got to speak and ask their questions. And I got an opportunity to speak with my soror, Lillian Davis, about her thoughts on the summit and the importance of advocacy work. Hey, Lillian Davis, I'm so happy to see you. You're one of my sorors. I'm so glad that you attended the NC Black Summit this year. I know you've been in the past, but the theme this year is Unleashing Our Power, United in Purpose. And you just heard from our legislative panel of amazing elected leaders here in the state. What are 2 or 3 takeaways?
I again am Lillian M. Davis. I am the Director of Public Policy and Advocacy for NAMI, North Carolina, National Alliance of Mental Illness. So Unleashing Our Power, United in Purpose for me means inclusivity. It means democracy for all. So when we're trying to fight for democracy, it can't be for one racial group, one age dynamic. It's for everybody. Number 2, we have work to do. we are not at the beginning of what we need to do to save our democracy for all. So in November, it's time for us to get up, get ready, and get out to vote.
And your dress says it all. I love it. Ooh, look at it. Always beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now that conversation reminded me that building power also means building care, community, advocacy, and healing. Mental health, advocacy, public policy, community organizing, all of these things are connected. And I also was able to reach out to one of our youngest chair of the Wake County Board of Education, Mr. Tyler Swanson. So let's listen to this clip.
Tyler Swanson, I'm the chair of the Wake County Board of Education. And it's important to be in spaces like this where you have Black electeds, Black community leaders, Black folks coming together to strategize, organize, and to make this world better, make this state better, and to, find joy. In this moment where we're seeing everything going from here to hell, we need moments where we can have some joy. And I think that's why these gatherings are so important.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for the work that you're doing on our school board. Because we need it. And we know that this budget, the fact that it's not passed yet, is impacting the schools. I did see an article where you guys are thinking about maybe laying off assistant principals. Is that true?
So the thing is, it's not going to be laying off.
Okay, great.
Because RIFs are something that we're trying to avoid. We will be changing our formulas, which is much more generous than what the state is providing for assistant principals, to scaling that back a little bit. Due to the fact that we don't have a state budget, we in Wake County are seeing this Blue Rich loophole that is stifling money from the county, which we've been able to use to help save Wake County Public Schools, because Jones Street is not doing their job as relates to a budget. And so we are grateful for the taxpayers that have been stepping up to fill that gap. But right now is a moment where we are doing less with less because of the state budget. And the folks that are suffering are our children. Our most vulnerable students are suffering because of their policy malpractice by siphoning money from public schools to charter schools. That is hurting our school. That is why we're making these tough decisions. And so our budget is a tough and ugly budget, but this could all be avoided if Jones Street does their job and do what they need to do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And let me say this clearly, school boards matter. If we are serious about political power, then we must be serious about public education, because school boards shape opportunity, curriculum, equity, school safety, and the future workforce of this state. I also had the amazing opportunity to speak with leadership connected with the North Carolina Black Alliance, the nonprofit organization that hosts the annual Black Summit. And I spoke with Courtney Crowder, the former executive director of the North Carolina Black Alliance, about the conception and the future of the North Carolina Black Alliance. So let me play that clip so you can hear his thoughts.
All right, so I'm Courtney Crowder, and I am, by the time you see this clip, I will be the immediate past executive director of the North Carolina Black Alliance. So, and for me, it's been about a 13-year journey in that role. But I've been involved with the organization since it was the Alliance of North Carolina Black Elected Officials, and evolved into sort of the organization and the platform, the ecosystem that it is today, which I'm proud of the leadership that's poised to sort of come forward with Marcus Bass, Dr. Jovita Lee Miller, Dion Lester and her steadiness, the consistency of the board, the centrality of the mission and the commitments that we have in this moment that we're in. I was sharing with some folks earlier that when Brad Thompson and the original founding leadership came together around this idea that there needed to be alignment between the elements of leadership throughout our community and that all of it mattered, it was necessary, obviously, but it was also in a moment in North Carolina history, political history, where it was relatively progressive, I'll call it, at least democratic leadership in the governor's mansion. The state legislature had democratic majorities, et cetera. There was lot of deep alignment with some of the institutions like the UNC Board of Governors, et cetera. And you know, I think a lot of my leadership in the moments that I've helped, you know, contribute to have really been about continuing the legacy of that idea that we needed to organize and engage in policy spaces. However, you know, there was a change in the leadership in the North Carolina General Assembly. There was a change in structure or the composition of the congressional delegation, the Council of State, and in some of our communities across the state, there was additional pressure because of some of the policy and political decisions that are being made, continue to be made. And that didn't start in this century. We know that this is an arc. We know we have to stay committed and connected. But in that time, we also, over the last 13 years, in addition to, you know, reconstituting and evolving the North Carolina Black Alliance and its model and its engagements and the way we show up in community, there was also the creation and establishment of Advanced Carolina, a 501c4 that is adjacent to the work that we do. So it's issue identification, but also political organizing and activation. That was a key strategic evolution of the Black Alliance and the coalition, as it were, of resources around what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So in this moment, set to the theme that we have for this Black Summit, the 20th Black Summit, it really is just, I think, a recommitment and maybe a call to action, you know, that we have to continue to stay aligned, continue to think about what's needed, not just by way of elected officials, but also our community leadership, our Black media, Black press, by all the organizations, whether it's on healthcare, environment, social justice, justice in our courts, education, you know, is all important. It requires our talent and our focus. It deserves it, and we have the means to continue to build on this arc for the future, for what the next moment calls on. And so, just looking forward to playing my part and also playing my position to continue to keep everything moving forward. I'm grateful.
And we're grateful to you, Courtney Crowder, for all the amazing work that you've done and this continuum of leadership that you picked up and that you are now handing to Marcus Bass. You know, the people, especially the Black communities in North Carolina, are grateful to you.
No, well, I appreciate you saying that. Handing something to Marcus Bass earns.
Yeah,
these
he
moments.
has, right?
And this, you know, being able to share and pass a baton that was handed to me, and also, you know, continuing to run alongside, because none of us are running these, you know, carrying these roles, these mantles exclusively or for ourselves. It's really about what we're doing in community and in deep relationship, deep engagement, deep partnership. So it's an honor, really. So,
yes, and thank you, listeners. We're in this together.
Absolutely.
That's how we unleash our power. Now that conversation really brought everything full circle. Movements do not just appear overnight. Organizations do not just magically happen. Political power is built through trust, strategy, relationships, sacrifice, and consistency. And the North Carolina Black Alliance has clearly created a space where Black leadership across North Carolina can come together and think strategically about the future. I also got to speak with new leadership, and I'm talking about Dr. Javita Lee Miller. Let's listen to her clip.
So hello everyone, I'm Dr. Javita Lee Miller, Deputy Director of the North Carolina Black Alliance, and we are here at our 20th annual North Carolina Black Summit. And so our theme this year, Unleashing Our Power, United in Purpose. That means that all of us have something to give to this movement, to this work, and we need to do it in alignment. So we have to come together, we have to unite, and we have to push forward to see the democracy that we all wish to see.
So my takeaway from the North Carolina Black Summit is this. We have power, we have brilliance, we have leaders, we have organizers, we have institutions, we have vision, but power must be organized. And if recent Supreme Court decisions are teaching us anything, it is that we cannot assume progress automatically sustains itself. We have to stay informed. We have to stay engaged. We have to protect our communities. We have to unite, even in the midst of our disagreements. We have to kick some people out of the room who shouldn't be in the room. That was one takeaway as well. And we have to remain united, though, in purpose, like I said, even when we disagree on strategy. This is Yolanda Taylor, the community lawyer, and you've been listening to All Rights Reserved. And remember, our rights, our voices, our votes, our communities, and our future must always be protected. Until next time, enjoy your beautiful Saturday afternoon.